Today was the first day of Scotland being in lockdown.
We woke up to a new reality. Our everyday lives now restricted like never before. Those venturing out have been told they must only do so if it is essential, not just for today, tomorrow, but for days to come.
Staying at home has become the only way of slowing the spread of this virus, the only way of giving our NHS the chance to cope, and the only way of saving lives.
We've got 4 people in the house and 3 are self-employed, so we're more or less not getting the income coming into the house now.
Over 140,000 firms have applied, and the grant they'll receive will help pay the wages of more than 1 million people.
Where does the Cabinet Secretary actually believe that the management of the spread of coronavirus across Scotland's care homes has gone so wrong?
I refute the idea that we were forcing people out of hospital in order to clear the way.
There's nothing that we've been through like this, and I don't think we'll ever go through anything like this again, and that's why testing and PPE is just so important for this sector.
Be as quick as we can, okay? If you could open as wide as possible.
For now, residents of care homes are not routinely tested for coronavirus.
Until a vaccine is available, we must have regular twice-weekly testing of all care home staff.
I never thought in my lifetime I would see something like this, come into fruition, but so proud, and privileged to have been part of this team to do it here. Their passion has been incredible. But never once do we forget that the reason we are here has caused so much heartache.
It's very difficult to know what day of the week it is. It's hard to believe it's mid-May. I did say on New Year's Day it's going to be the worst year of my life, and it has been.
Quite often I fear of a viral infection.
The planning of the response at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow began in January. They admitted their first COVID patient on the 19th of March.
It was like a collection of the sickest patients of the last 15 years all arriving within a fortnight. And of course the patients kept coming. We kept having to plan and open more intensive care units, and we didn't know when that was going to end. So that was scary.
Two years ago, Turriff High Street was crowned the most beautiful in Scotland. Today it's typical of many across the country, with most businesses forced to close their doors because of COVID-19.
80% we are down on sales. The 20% we're just making up with social media orders, phone orders when we're in the store.
Today a survey found nearly 61% of firms fear they won't survive once lockdown measures are lifted.
Another day, another retail giant facing collapse.
Arcadia going into administration, they represent one of the biggest concession holders in Debenhams. So today, Debenhams has become a much less viable business without Arcadia.
On Princes Street in Edinburgh, Topshop has a prime spot.
Sort of online places are more popular nowadays, so it's not really much of a surprise.
Kind of inevitable with how the economy's been hit.
Not everybody likes online. On the way to work, Rolls-Royce employees drive past the aircraft parked on the runway of Glasgow Airport, a daily reminder of how this pandemic has hit the aviation industry. Now, staff have been told 700 jobs are at risk.
Young men and women with young families in their 20s, 30s and 40s who today have basically been told that their future is basically sitting on the edge of a cliff.
Rolls-Royce is considering withdrawing its services capability from Shinnon permanently.
It's usually Scotland's busiest, with more than 1 million passengers every month, but Edinburgh Airport is a quiet place now. Just a handful of international flights came in today, and anyone arriving on them must quarantine for 14 days.
We've always favoured a targeted approach to this, led by data, rather than the blanket quarantine policy that's been imposed on us for the past month or so.
It was short-lived relief as quarantine was reinstated for Spain at the weekend.
I had to come home 4 days early. I have to go back to work and teach, so I've had to come home to self-isolate before I start work.
Disappointed because the only reason that we booked this holiday was because they had lifted the restrictions for quarantine.
Lunchtime service in this Glasgow restaurant, which is welcoming its first customers in 4 months.
It's good to be back, especially for the restaurant owners. We've been worried about them. We've been here a long time and we know that businesses will struggle, so it's lovely to be back here.
The hospitality industry was among the first to close its doors and among the last to reopen.
We're over the moon, but very excited and very tense because it's the first day after 25 years that we start all over again.
We planned on losing money. We didn't plan on losing £500,000 a month, on dropping £25 million of revenue this year.
I can't even remember how to do it.
In households around the country, a routine abandoned for 5 months is returning.
Oh, Gabe's here on the wrong feet, darling. I am so excited for them to go back. My 10-year-old's been jumping about since 7 o'clock this morning, and he actually said to me today, he was like, Mum, this is something you'll never hear me saying I want to go to school, because he usually hates school.
All efforts to contain the virus have been targeted at this, getting pupils back into the classroom. It's the biggest step in the easing of lockdown measures, the biggest step towards returning to some sense of normality.
The one thing that we did learn through lockdown is how resilient our children are, and I think the children have shown that today.
At Glasgow University's Morano Street flats, these are testing times. Emergency COVID checks were set up today after more than 100 cases here put the whole block into isolation.
There has been some social activities going on, and there has been some situations that we've been in at parties and whatnot that we've kind of realised, yeah, that could have spread the virus quite quickly.
Confirmation of 120 cases at Edinburgh's Napier University. In Dundee, 500 students at Abertay University's Parker House are also isolating.
We're also making it clear that within the university community we all have a responsibility, a shared responsibility for the safety of each other, and we're very satisfied that that message is getting across to the students.
It's the sector of the economy that's borne the brunt of this pandemic. And come Friday, once again, restaurants like this in 11 council areas will be takeaway only businesses for 3 weeks.
I'm just annoyed at what's really causing the problem, and it's people that don't care. I see it in the restaurant, people refuse to wear a mask, people refuse to leave track and trace details.
We make 50% of our total income in December.
Pressure on hospitals in these areas and on those who work in them is already severe, and with the additional pressure that the coming weeks may bring, it could easily become intolerable.
From Friday, it'll be against the law to travel in and out of level 3 and 4 council areas.
Some people in other schools, they've not had anyone that's had to isolate, and they have like an advantage on us.
We will adopt the new model that has been developed and base awards on teacher judgment of evidence of learner attainment. This is safe, it is fair, and it better recognises the reality of the disruption.
It's the day we've been waiting for since the start of the coronavirus pandemic.
This wasn't a little bit of history, it was a big one.
It's very exciting, and it's the first time a major vaccine has come through so quickly. So to be part of that is amazing.
Lecture Adam for me.
Annie Innes, a former carer herself, the first resident of a nursing home to be vaccinated for coronavirus in Scotland.
Well done.
The investigation into what went so badly wrong is well underway.
Measure by measure, moment by moment, they've pieced together the detail of exactly how the train hit a landslip as it attempted to return to Aberdeen in atrocious weather. The train's driver, Brett McCulloch, conductor Donald Dinney and a passenger, Christopher Stutchbury, all died in the accident.
These officers attended a chaotic scene, a dangerous scene, and it was absolutely to their credit the way they performed, assisting people going to that dangerous position just in order to help people.
Armed police have locked down part of this usually busy street after a stabbing attack which left 1 dead and 6 in hospital, including a police officer.
This eyewitness asked to remain anonymous.
Like when I came down, I saw the lift was full of blood, and then when I used the stairs and came down because I got worried, the whole receptionist was blood.
I think this is where the police family will pull together. We all accept that when we take on this role of the Office of Constable, that this is the type of thing that you can be faced with.
The Park Inn is one of the hotels in the city used to house asylum seekers moved from temporary homes.
Thanking his lawyer in the way of these times, Alex Salmon walks free.
I'd like to thank my brilliant legal team, who are absolutely exceptional.
It was not that long ago, maybe half an hour ago, that the jury came back with those verdicts, clearing him of all the charges he faced, and it's pretty fair to say that we haven't heard the last of this.
I've just come to the conclusion that a fresh face, after all of this is behind us, is the right person to lead us into that election.
I'm committed to representing Moray, but I'm also committed to the Scottish Conservative cause and the cause for unionism in this country.
9 years ago, my own sister, part of the report that came back was that it was street Valium, and it's still continuing to this day.
This report shows in 2019 Dundee continued to have the highest drug death rates in Europe, closely followed by Glasgow and Inverclyde. North Lanarkshire also saw a sharp increase.
They do a decent thing, resign and please.
Scotland's Public Health Minister faced calls for him to resign in the light of these latest statistics.
We really need to take action to reduce the supply of those drugs.
The man who became Bond was born Thomas Sean Connery in Fountainbridge in Edinburgh.
Up, down, the length of our land, Aberfeldy, Ardnamurchan, there's uplift, sharing, pass the baton, a front line forming, hand to fierce hand. Shop front workers, down the aisle, new era queues, metres apart. The chemist's prescription warms the heart. Delivery folk vanish, ghost a smile. Volunteers at the local food bank, shy half moon in a clear Scots sky. We leave with tins, groceries, goodbyes, clap in the gloaming when we say our thanks. And the sky greets with stars, and the bold birds sing as we clink in our links in the kindness line, holding absent hands for auld lang syne.